Imagine this. From the moment of your first breath, a master sculptor went to work on your mind, not with chisel and stone, but with words. A word of praise and a layer of good was cast upon you. A word of reprimand and a shell of bad was sealed around that. Layer upon layer, judgment upon expectation, rule upon unspoken rule, until the original shape of you, that pure, conscious energy, was completely encased. You were given a name, a nationality, a religion, a set of manners. You were taught what to dream, what to fear, what success looks like, what failure tastes like. This sculptor was not a single person. It was everyone, your parents, teachers, heroes, the culture that raised you. And without knowing it, they were performing an ancient ritual called the domestication of the human. You, standing here right now, are the living, breathing result. You live inside a dream, but it is not your dream. It is the dream of the planet. And here is the silent, screaming paradox. You built this prison yourself, brick by brick, all while believing you were building a home. You agreed to every rule. You signed the contracts, invisible as air, that dictate your worth. I must be perfect to be loved. Suffering is noble. My value is what others say it is. You hold these agreements as sacred truths, and you punish yourself mercilessly for breaking rules you never consciously chose. Your inner critic, that relentless voice, isn't even your own voice. It's the echo of that long line of sculptors. So you strive, you ache, you perform. You seek a salvation that always seems just out of reach. Trapped in a play where you didn't write the lines, but you've memorized them perfectly. The heaviness you carry? That's the weight of 1,000 invisible agreements. What if freedom isn't about acquiring something new, more status, more possessions, more validation, but about shattering something old? What if the most radical act of your life is not an action, but a revocation? A deliberate, precise, and peaceful refusal to honor the agreements that hold you in chains? This is the profound and unsettling key offered by Don Miguel Ruiz in the 4 Agreements. This book is not about adding more philosophy to your mental library. It is a manual for a jailbreak. It proposes that the path to a free life, a life of authentic peace and power, is not forward on a crowded highway, but backward through the silent corridors of your own conditioning. It asks one terrifying, liberating question. What if you could, starting now, renegotiate the very foundations of your reality? But to do that, you must first meet the warden. You must stare, without flinching, at the ingenious, self-perpetuating system of your own suffering. This is the locked door in your own mind. Ruiz does not hand you a gentle key. He hands you a mirror, forged in the fire of ancient Toltec wisdom, and asks you to look at the masterpiece of your own captivity. The reflection is the first step toward freedom. The cage is meticulously designed. But who is the true architect? And how did we all become willing prisoners? To understand the escape, you must first comprehend the brilliance of the trap. The architect is not a villain. It is a system. Don Miguel Ruiz names it with chilling precision: the judge, the victim, and the book of law. From the moment you could understand language, the world began to testify before it of your mind. Don't touch that. Good girl, big boys don't cry. That's selfish. Each statement, loaded with emotion and consequence, was entered into evidence. Over years, this testimony crystallized into an unshakable internal codex, your personal book of law. This book contains every concept of right and wrong, beautiful and ugly, success and failure that was ever transmitted to you. It is the operating system of your dream. Then, to enforce this law, 2 psychic entities were born within you. The judge uses the book of law to assess everything: your actions, your feelings, the actions of others. It constantly, ruthlessly compares reality to the rigid ideals in the book. And because you, as a human, can never perfectly live up to this foreign, inherited code the judge always finds you guilty. It is the voice of perpetual criticism. Its symbiotic partner is the victim. The victim absorbs the judgment and carries the sentence, the shame, the anxiety, the sense of never being enough. It feels the punishment the judge decrees. I'm not smart enough. I'm unlovable. I always ruin things. This is the victim speaking, bearing the emotional weight of laws it never wrote. This is the hidden, self-sustaining engine of your suffering. You are simultaneously the tyrannical judge, the unjust law, and the perpetually punished victim. It's a closed loop of self-aggression. Ruiz connects this to a profound psychological truth. We seek love and acceptance, but we are taught that to be worthy of it, we must be perfect according to the Book of Law. Since perfection is impossible, we are set up for a lifetime of self-rejection. We learn to betray our authentic selves to earn the reward of conditional love, and in doing so, we abandon ourselves. This domestication is so complete, so seamless, that we mistake the judge's voice for our own conscience. We believe the victim's suffering is our true identity. We worship the Book of Law as truth itself. We live in what Ruiz calls a dream of hell, where we are in a constant state of war with ourselves, projecting our internal battle onto every person and situation around us. Every conflict, every insecurity, every moment of resentment is a reflection of this inner tribunal in session. The stakes are not philosophical, they are visceral. This system is the root of the anxiety that tightens your chest, the imposter syndrome that haunts your achievements, the resentment that poisons your relationships. You apply your law to others and find them guilty, creating conflict. You fear they are judging you by their law, creating paranoia. It is a lonely, exhausting hallucination, and you are both the prisoner and the jailer. But Ruiz offers a staggering insight. None of this is real. The judge, the victim, the entire Book of Law, it is all a construct, a story you learn to believe with all your might. Your true self, what he calls the Nagel, is the life force underneath, the one who was there before the domestication, who watched the masks be applied. At essence is not guilty. It is not a victim. It is pure awareness. The tension now becomes almost unbearable. If the prison is built from agreements to this false law, then what stands on the other side of disbelief? What happens if you stop feeding the judge, if you close the Book of Law? The structure of your entire reality is built upon this sand. To question, it feels like risking annihilation. But Ruiz insists this is the only path to salvation. The question shifts from, why am I suffering? To a far more dangerous and liberating one. What would you be if you were no longer the judge, the victim, or the blind follower of a law you never chose? The dream of hell is a powerful inertia. But what if you could replace it, not with a different dream of fantasy, but with a dream of impeccability? A dream where your word is no longer a weapon, not even against yourself. The consequence of living in this self-created dream is not just personal suffering. It is the very fabric of our shared reality. We are all authors of private fictions, and when these fictional worlds collide, we call it life. Don Miguel Ruiz reveals that our entire social world is, in his terms, a dream of hell, populated by domesticated humans projecting their wounds. Consider a simple, haunting example from the book. You walk past a stranger who glances at you. In your personal Book of Law, it is written, "I am unattractive." The judge instantly seizes the glance as evidence. They looked at you with disgust. It rules. The victim within you feels a pang of shame, a familiar unworthiness. You have just experienced a profound emotional reaction, a wound based entirely on a meaning you manufactured. You then may project that pain back onto the stranger with a glare, or take it home and snap at a loved one. A phantom attack, born from an ancient agreement, has created real-world emotional shrapnel. Now, scale this mechanism. Imagine every person you know, your partner, your boss, your parent, operating from their own personalized Book of Law, their own judge and victim. Communication becomes less about truth and more about the silent, desperate negotiation of wounds. We don't react to what people actually say or do. We react to the meaning our judge assigns it, filtered through a lifetime of accumulated hurt. This is why arguments can escalate over nothing. This is why love so often becomes a battlefield of unmet, unspoken expectations. We are not in relationships with people. We are in relationships with our projections of them, and they with their projections of us. It's a hall of mirrors, reflecting distortions. This is the unseen poison in our collective well, the viral nature of unexamined agreements. We inherit them, we inflict them, we propagate them. A parent, wounded by their own agreement that expressing emotion is weakness, teaches a child to suppress tears, passing on the poison to the next generation. A culture's agreement that worth is measured by productivity creates epidemics of burnout and anxiety. Wars, prejudice, systemic injustice, at their root, Ruiz would argue, are massive. Collective agreements that certain people are less than, agreements so deeply embedded they feel like reality itself. We call this shared dream the real world, and we armor ourselves for it. We build emotional calluses, prepare defensive strategies, and wear social masks to survive the psychic war zone. We become artists of inauthenticity, not out of malice, but out of a desperate, domesticated instinct to avoid the punishment of the judge, both our own and the one we imagine in others. The consequence is a profound spiritual loneliness. We are surrounded by people, yet starved for a single true connection that exists outside the domain of judgment. The ultimate cost is your life force, your energy. Ruiz presents this with stark clarity. Every time you betray yourself to meet an external agreement, you expend energy. Every time you rehearse an old hurt, you expend energy. Every moment spent in the inner courtroom, prosecuting or defending, drains the power you have to create, to love, to simply be present. You are living in a state of self-imposed psychic poverty, wondering why you are so tired, so uninspired, so far from joy. The dream of hell is a self-perpetuating machine. It feeds on the very energy it drains from you. But this grim panorama is also the key to your liberation. Because if the world you experience is a projection, then changing the projection changes your world. The chaos is not out there. It is in here, in the meaning-making factory of your conditioned mind, which means you hold the lever. The path out is not to change the entire dream of the planet, but to withdraw your consent from its most toxic clauses within your own psyche. To declare a personal armistice in the war with yourself. But how? How do you walk through a storm of projections without being swept away? How do you communicate when your very language is infected with the disease of judgment? The solution is not a complex philosophy. It is a practice of 4 deliberate, devastatingly simple acts of rebellion. The first of these acts is the most radical of all, a vow of linguistic integrity that turns your primary tool of domestication into a tool of liberation. If seeing the invisible prison makes you crave the key, subscribe to Forge It Together. Tell me in the comments, where in your life do you feel this psychic war zone the most? The rebellion begins not with an army, but with a vow. A vow so deceptively simple, it seems almost trivial against the colossal architecture of your conditioning. Don Miguel Ruiz does not offer a 10-step plan for enlightenment. He offers 4 agreements, not additions to your burdensome book of law, but 4 new clauses to replace it. They are not rules to be followed under threat of punishment, but principles of personal power, to be practiced with the discipline of an artist. The first is the foundation upon which all freedom is built, and it directly attacks the engine of hell at its source, the poisoned word. 1. Be impeccable with your word. This is not about not lying. This is a seismic shift in your relationship with the power of creation itself. Your word is a force. It is the tool that spells, that manifested your entire dream. During your domestication, it was used as a black magic wand to curse you with labels and limitations. You're clumsy. You'll never amount to anything. Those spells were cast, and you accepted them. Now, Ruiz commands you to become a sorcerer of white magic. To be impeccable means without sin, and sin here is defined as anything against yourself. When you use the word to gossip, to criticize, to judge yourself, you are directing a toxic spell inward and outward. You are literally regurgitating the poison of your domestication. Impeccability is the vow to use your word only in the direction of truth and love. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Use your word to build, to bless, to forgive, to declare your own truth. Most crucially, stop the black magic of your internal dialogue. When the judge speaks, you now have the agreement not to agree. You refuse to cast that spell on yourself. This single act stars the judge of its power. It is the first and most vital act of breaking the old dream. 2. Don't take anything personally. Here, Ruiz delivers a psychological atom bomb. Nothing others do is because of you. It is because of them. Every person you meet is living in their own dream, projecting from their own book of law, their own wounds. The insult, the glare, the praise, the neglect. It is all a reflection of the speaker's internal reality. To take it personally is to assume you are the center of their universe and to ingest their poison as your own. It is the ultimate hubris of the domesticated mind. When you truly grasp this, you become immune to the opinions and actions of others. You walk through a world of projected pain like a figure in a rainstorm, wearing a cloak of non-resistance. The hook of their judgment finds no purchase in your flesh. This is not cold detachment. It is profound emotional sovereignty. You no longer need to defend because you understand an attack is never truly about you. This agreement dismantles the victim. 3. Don't make assumptions. This is the mind's desperate attempt to fill the terrifying silence of not knowing. We assume others think, feel, and see the world as we do. We assume we know their motivations. We assume they should know our desires. Then we believe our assumptions are truth, and we build resentments, launch attacks, and weave tragedies from pure fiction. The remedy is brutal courage. Ask questions. Have the courage to express what you really want. Communicate with clarity as far as you can. This agreement demands that you confront the unknown directly, rather than populating it with the monsters from your past. It replaces the dream of paranoid fantasy with a ground of clean, clear reality. 4. Always do your best. This is the agreement that makes the other sustainable. Your best is not a static pinnacle of perfection. It is a fluid state, changing moment to moment. When you are sick, your best is lower than when you are healthy. The key is to simply do your best in that moment, without judgment or expectation of reward. This severs the chain linking your action to the judge's verdict. If you did your best, there is no room for self-recrimination. If you did not, there is simply a chance to try again. By always doing your best, you avoid the self-flagellation that drains your energy. You transform action from a performance for the inner critic into a ritual of personal power. You break the cycle of guilt and procrastination. You live life as a dance, not a test. These 4 agreements are not a quick fix. They are a warrior's practice, a lifelong discipline of catching yourself in the act of dreaming the old dream and consciously choosing to dream a new one. They are the keys to revoking your consent to the old laws. When you practice them, you are not being good. You are being free. You are no longer the puppet of your conditioning. You are the artist of your life. The storm of the world's dream continues to rage, but you have begun to build a sanctuary within it, stone by impeccable stone. But a sanctuary from what? To what end? What is the ultimate truth that awaits in the center of that sacred circle? When the noise of the judge finally falls silent and your word becomes pure creation, the ultimate truth of the 4 agreements is not a secret to be learned, but a self to be remembered. It is the realization that you are not the clay, shaped and scarred by the sculptor's hands. You are the artist. You are not the dreamer trapped in the nightmare. You are the awareness that can choose to stop dreaming. Don Miguel Ruiz's final synthesizing revelation is this. When you consistently practice the 4 agreements, you are not merely adopting a better philosophy. You are initiating a process of reverse domestication. You are systematically dismantling the parasitic reality that fed on your energy, and you are reclaiming your sovereignty as the creator of your own experience. This is the paradigm shift. Your life ceases to be something that happens to you, a series of reactions to external judgments and internal prosecutions. It becomes a conscious creation from you. The judge's gavel is stilled. The victim's testimony is dismissed. The book of law is closed, its pages fading. What remains is not emptiness, but your original, pre-domesticated state, life expressing itself as you. This is what Ruiz calls the happiness of heaven, not a destination in an afterlife, but a quality of presence available in this very breath. It is the freedom of no longer needing to prove, to defend, to perform, or to hide. It is the freedom of being impeccably. This freedom expresses itself in one breathtaking capacity, the ability to love without conditions. As long as your love was filtered through your book of law, I will love you if you meet my needs, if you conform to my image, it was not love. It was a transaction, a contract within the dream of hell. True love, Ruiz insists, has no conditions. It is your natural state when you are free from fear, judgment, and need. You love not because others are flawless by your old laws, but because love is what you are made of when the obstructions of your agreements are cleared away. You can then extend that same unconditional love to yourself, ending the civil war within. The book's lasting impact is not a list of concepts to remember, but a mirror to carry. Every moment of friction in your life, every spike of anger, every pang of anxiety, every wave of resentment becomes a signal. It is no longer proof of a flawed world or a flawed self, but a flashing indicator light showing you where an old, unexamined agreement is still running the show. The conflict with your partner? Likely an assumption you took personally. The work anxiety? The judge punishing you for not being perfect. Each becomes a sacred opportunity to apply your agreements, to choose your dream anew. You are urged, in the end, not to become a follower of Toltec wisdom, but to become a Toltec yourself, an artist of the spirit, a warrior who fights not against others, but against the invisible, infectious lies of your own domestication. Your battlefield is your mind. Your sword is your impeccability. Your shield is your refusal to take poison personally. So as this summary ends, the real work begins in the silence that follows. Look at your life, not with the harsh eyes of the judge, but with the gentle curiosity of awareness. Where are you still a prisoner, believing a sentence you wrote for yourself in a forgotten language? The door of your cage is not locked. It never was. You have been holding it shut from the inside, agreeing with the ghost of a warden who left long ago. The invitation is to stop, to breathe, and to utter from the deepest part of your being a single, powerful word to every agreement that no longer serves you, to every judgment that chains you, to the entire, wearying dream of hell. No, and in the pristine, powerful silence that follows that no, you will hear, for the first time in perhaps your entire life, the sound of your own freedom. It sounds like peace. It feels like coming home.